Hi, I'm David Lewis, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about APA-style citations. So let's just cover some of the basics first. So, citations are used to provide support for claims that are made by the author. Uh, Authors also oftentimes share their opinions, and you don't need to use a citation for that. So it's important to understand the difference. A claim is a statement that's based on observable evidence. For example, if you were to say something like, these findings are supported by the previous research, well, then you need to cite that research. You need to tell us what research is it you're referring to. And you do that by using a citation. Opinions, on the other hand, are statements that are based on your own personal or subjective beliefs. So you don't really need to provide a citation for that. Here's an example. If you were to say something like, these findings have profound implication for the treatment of depression and bipolar disorder, well, that's nice that you have that opinion, but you don't really need to support that by citing any previous research. I guess you could provide a citation for that, but the point is that's just like your opinion. It doesn't need to be supported. There's different ways that you can cite your sources. So first of all, you have what I call post-claim citations. These are by far the most common type of citations you're going to see in research papers. This is where first you make the claim that you want to make, and then after that, at the very end of that sentence, you put the citation. So make sure you put all the author's last names and the date of publication inside parentheses at the end of that paragraph, or at the end of that sentence you're citing. Then you have what I call pre-claim citations. Now with these, you're going to cite the source before you make that claim. Make sure you put all authors' last names inside the text, so you're actually writing out the authors' last names in the text. The only thing you're going to put in the parentheses after those authors' last names is the year of publication. Then finally, we have direct quotations. I don't have much to say about direct quotations because they are pretty rarely used. We only really reserve direct quotations for really important quotations, like something a famous person said hundreds of years ago. Usually these are shorter passages, like maybe just a sentence or maybe just a phrase. But the primary reason why we don't really ever use direct quotations is because it's borderline plagiarism. And I'll talk some more about that in just a moment. First, let's talk about post-claim citations. So, post-claim citations are those ones where first you make your claim and then you cite your source. So let's look at a few examples. Here's one, here's another, and here's one more. Now, if you look at these three, you'll see that they all have the same basic structure. They have that claim that comes first, and then at the end of the sentence, we see inside parentheses the author's last names and the year of publication. Let's look a little bit closer at one of these. Alright, so with this one, you can see that it starts with that claim. So it says here, as such, a mental image can be generated without corresponding perceptual stimuli. That's something that sounds like it needs to be, supported by some citation, because you're making a statement, you're making a claim. And right after that, you see we have that citation inside parentheses. So that's the citation right there. And if you notice, it comes before the period. So the period comes after that citation. Now, there's a few more things I'd like to say about this. When it comes to more technical formatting, though, I've already mentioned that citations are enclosed within parentheses, but I haven't mentioned that a comma should follow every author's last name, and there should be this and symbol before the last author's last name. And then, as I already mentioned, the year of publication comes at the very end. Let's look at some pre-claim citations. Here's a few examples. So here's one, here's another one, and one more. So why don't we look a little bit closer at one of these. Let's take a look at that one up there. So this one says, this idea was revisited by Skinner, parentheses 1977, who claimed that everything required to explain human behavior can be found in the environment. So if you look at this, you'll see that basically we've just kind of swapped the position of the claim and the citation. So now the citation comes first and the claim comes after. There's really not such a big difference. Let's look at another one. You can see with this one, it's pretty much the same thing. So once again, we have our citation followed by the claim. It's pretty simple. The basic citation format is basically identical. The only real difference is now we're putting the citation before the claim, and we're including those author names in the text, not inside the parentheses. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is how to do direct quotations, or to put it more accurately, why you shouldn't do direct quotations. Take a look at these examples. So here's one, and here's another one, and one more. Now, if you look closely at these, you'll see that some of them kind of look like pre-claim citations, and some of them kind of look like post-claim citations. It's just, instead of writing the claim in your own words, you are copy-pasting that claim from the source. So here's what I mean. The first one, if you look up there, refers to the author in the text. So we're actually mentioning the author and then putting that year of publication in parentheses like you would do with any other pre-claim citation. It's just now, like I said, the claim is within quotation marks because we've copy-pasted it from the source. Another thing you'll notice with all of these is that we have to put the page number at the end of that sentence. Here's another example of a pre-claim citation. Once again, we refer the author by name, and then we put that claim that they've made. But this last one down here, this would be an example of a post-claim citation for direct quotation. And the only difference is the one that you would expect is, now we're putting the author's last name and the year of publication inside parentheses. But since it's a post-claim citation, we actually have to put it after that quotation mark. And that's how you can see it down here. But like I was saying, we never really do use direct quotations. It's extremely rare. And the reason why is because you are literally copy-pasting from your sources. And that's a big, big problem. You should never, ever do that in APA style unless you absolutely have to use that specific quotation. So just as a general rule of thumb, do not use direct quotations, ever. Instead, just put everything in your own words. And if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to rephrase something one of your sources has said, here's what I would recommend. Read what that source wrote, and then put that source away, get it out of your field of vision, and just try to write out using on your keyboard what you just read. you'll invariably put it in your own words, and it will be your own original writing, so you can avoid this whole plagiarism issue. Now, there is one final thing I'd like to mention, and that is it's not this simple. APA style citations can be complicated. There can be a lot of different variations that you'll probably have to deal with from time to time. So here's a few advanced tips. First of all, if a source has more than 3 authors, you don't want to put all of those authors' last names in the citation. Like some sources you'll find have like 10 or 20 authors. So what you should do in that kind of situation is just put the first author's last name and then et al, as you see it over there. Et al means and others, to put it simply. So here's an example. When this source was by Dads and many other authors, so all we need to write is Dads et al. Here's another tip. If a source has no author, if you can't identify any single author, then what you should use is the name of the organization that published that source. You oftentimes see this with major organizations like the World Health Organization, for example. They put out a lot of articles, but they don't have any single author listed. So in that case, you would just want to reference or cite the World Health Organization. Or if you're citing a source from the U.S. Census Department, then you would want to cite it like this. And finally, if you want to cite multiple sources for a single claim, like let's say you write a general claim that a lot of different authors all agree on, what you can do is you can put them all at the end. You can do post-claim citations for all of them, put them all inside one big parentheses, and just separate each of the individual citations with a semicolon. So here's how that would look. In this example I'm showing you here, both Edwards and Holmes and Matthews are being used to support the same claim. And you'll find that you can do that quite frequently because there is a lot of agreement between various authors when it comes to certain issues. So that's all the basics of APA style citations. If you have any more, advanced kinds of questions, or if you have a question that this video just doesn't address, I strongly recommend going to your bookstore or your library and just picking up a copy of the APA Publication Manual. It's the official source for all these APA style rules, so you'll probably need to get it eventually anyway, especially if you have a future in social science. So, I'll see you next time.